Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ritual Chamber. We've been on quite the hiatus. I am Josh by Night. This is Man Jeff, and today we're going to be doing a review on a Marvel one-off, which is Marvel Special, Werewolf by Night.
Yes.
So why don't you go ahead and get into the synopsis for this this special?
Ooh, we have another one I did not plan exactly, but I'm gonna do it quick because I've decided after the last few I planned them out a little bit too much, and I basically gave away the sword.
Yes.
So on the eve of the funeral of Ulysses Bloodstone, 7 hunters are invited to a special gathering where they are tasked with hunting down a monster in the woods, a la like the greatest hunt, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, to earn the right to wield the fabled Bloodstone.
Mm-hmm.
Little they know there is a monster in their midst.
Ooh, nice. Yes, I think that's a good summation of this. Yeah, I like that. It's hey, shaking the rust off. You know what I mean? Yeah. In regards to
Little dusty.
Werewolf by Night. I mean, I think before we get into it, I was really surprised that they were going to do this.
Yeah, me too.
To be honest,
when they announced it at D23, right?
Yeah, I believe it was D23.
It was like, I was like stoked. I was like, they're doing a freaking Werewolf by Night. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where is this gonna fit?
Yeah,
that was my first question. Like literally, first question: where is this gonna fit in the MCU? If it is indeed part of the MCU, or if it is just a special, kind of like the group shorts that were like, maybe, but who cares?
Yeah. They were on board the ship, essentially missing
around or whatever.
Yeah, no Guardians of the Galaxy involved, just Groot kind of going through some growing pains, I guess, if you will. So I thought the same thing with this. But when I kind of got the sense of what they were trying to do with this, almost a Halloween special, I was like, oh, this is the perfect time to do this. And I was actually pleasantly surprised by this. I really enjoyed it. So, with the plot, you kind of did the summation there. Obviously introduces the hunters coming in. We get a very just kind of broad introduction of these people, what they're about.
And that was kind of one thing I didn't like so much was that the hunters I was hoping for like a little bit of Easter eggy, and maybe there were if I delved a little deeper.
Mm-hmm.
But from the little research I did do, they were just nameless. They were nameless goons to be.
Yeah, absolutely. There was nothing that I could reference to comics in particular, but I also haven't read a ton of Werewolf by Night, so there could have been, but it just I didn't recognize anything.
Werewolf by Night's been around since 1954, and we don't have that kind of time.
Yes, we do not have that kind of time. So with this show,
show or like.
I guess
like a short movie
feature,
or like a short film
featurette.
Yeah, short film. I would call it short. It's 55 minutes. I mean, so it's basically the runtime of a She-Hulk episode.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Or anything these days, because nothing can be fucking half an hour anymore. Sorry.
So, with that being said, I think. Should we jump into the characters, the acting here? Do you want to start somewhere else?
Yeah, sure. We can jump into. I mean, let's just go into the titular Werewolf by Night, which I love Gail Bernal. Actually, the first thing I ever saw him in was this little indie movie called The Science of Sleep. And it's just a great little it's a cutesy little kind of rom-com, but weird because it was like, mid-2000s indie movie, which everything then was kind of weird rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it. And it's visually very, very cool. And they do a lot of really interesting low-budget type of stuff. It's like not like CGI'd out. It's actually like cardboard cutout kind of stuff. It's really cool. It's really cute.
Like movie parlor tricks.
No, like actual cardboard stuff. Like there's a joke in this movie about he makes 3D glasses, and they're literally just cardboard glasses that they're like, he goes, it lets you see life in 3D, and the girl, it's just adorable. The girl goes, but life isn't 3D. He's like, yeah, well.
Okay.
It's kind of things like that. And also, he was in old M. Night Shyamalan's movie, and I really love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's great in it. He has a sort of very understated kind of acting style that I like a lot. Like, he kind of, that sort of plays to his strengths. That he kind of, even as the hunters, he's just sort of, he's kind of in awe of what's going on and all the murals and stuff in this galley, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's, you know, kind of very quiet and not stoic. I don't want to say stoic, but like he's just sort of kind of, he's got a very mellow demeanor.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Mm-hmm. Playing Jack Russell.
Which is also the name of a breed of a dog.
Yes, that is correct. Which also,
because Marvel's very clever.
and then with that, I mean, the only characters that are really kind of prominent in this.
Yeah, really the only characters you need to care about
is and Elsa Bloodstone, who's played by Laura Donnelly,
yeah.
and then yes, of course, Man-Thing, because that is the Beast. Mm-hmm. Or monster, if you will, abomination. They have multiple different ways that they label these characters.
They hunt monsters.
Yeah,
they're very derogatory.
Yeah, but those are the kind of main characters, and we actually find out very quickly in this that Man-Thing is what they're going to hunt down.
And in a cool way too, because I think the cool thing, the way they introduced Man-Thing, we'll touch on it. We touch on Elsa Bloodstone a little bit because, quite frankly, she's just kind of there. I mean, in a lot of ways, she is sort of the main character, but
not really.
Really.
Realistically, she's just a daughter to Ulysses Bloodstone, who comes in to essentially the backstory that we get from her is that she had abandoned him.
Yeah, this is her birthright.
Some kind of failure, but she's coming back for this birthright.
Exactly. But the cool thing was, you know, getting the introduction of Man-Thing was that, you know, yeah, you find out that that's the monster they're searching for, but him and Jack Russell are friends.
Yes.
Or you know, family, whatever, however it is, they you know, hey, sometimes your friends are your family.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and getting a lot of the jokes because you can't understand what Man-Thing says, obviously, because he is a plant creature.
Yes.
But that he. You know, everything that he says to Jack is very like you just get what he said by Jack's response.
It's a very like Han Solo Chewbacca kind of relationship,
exactly.
and so it actually works really well here, I think.
And this is not the first introduction of Man-Thing into the MCU. In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Mariah Hill did mention Man-Thing in season 2 or 3. I don't remember what season it was, but it's kind of cool because it, you know. I still like to think of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the MCU.
Yes, okay.
When they time traveled, they got out for whatever reason, but whatever.
Kind of circles back there, and we get to, but this time we actually get the introduction of him.
The actual Man-Thing, which I loved. I loved it. I loved the design. They stayed comic book accurate.
Very comic book accurate.
Actually, a lot of the things I really liked about this was the comic book accuracy in everyone.
Yeah. I think Jack Russell, when he does end up becoming the werewolf, does look very comic book accurate, and it actually looks really cool. Yeah. I'm you know, when it comes to lichens and how they're displayed, a lot of the times in movies they usually take on more of a wolf-like look. But when you consider the fact that werewolf lichens are man-like creatures that turn into it, I thought the depiction of this, when we get to see him finally as the werewolf, was very cool looking.
And generally, I've with lycanthropes and stuff, I do like a more wolf-looking, but like a humanoid wolf. Like a perfect example is like the Underworld series, where they're like big, standing up wolves. That I really like. I don't like as much as I love the movie American Werewolf in London. I don't like the way that where they're just like dogs basically. They're just, you know, they're all on all fours. I don't like that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
But that being said, this is very much a more Wolfman, kind of harkening back to Lon Chaney.
Teen Wolf,
yeah. Where it's more, it's also like it's a man, but it's, you know, got just patchy hair.
Yeah, wolf-like features.
Wolf-like features, and I really like that because it is very comic book accurate.
And
he's always appeared in the comics.
And it's
even
cool.
also Bloodstone, her jacket, her ensemble. She looks exactly kind of the way Elsa Bloodstone always looks in comics.
And so one thing that I did like with this too is you know, thinking about it, Werewolf by Night. I really thought that we were going to get more screen time of Gail Bernal playing the werewolf, but we actually didn't get a lot of it, and I actually think that worked really well here.
No, it did a lot because I think because going the way they did. which making it very universal, old school.
Yes,
old school Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Mummy. They kind of took that tone, especially going black and white, which was an amazing choice. And one little thing even I noticed is in the corner at certain points in the film, there were burn marks.
There were burn marks. And I noticed that as well. And I loved that. And one thing...
No, first time I saw it, I was like, that is awesome. I wish they'd gone a little more granulated with like the film style. Like throw
exactly.
a filter over it or actually film it in film. Yeah, I love that. I got so stoked. And then I immediately, I grabbed my notes. And I was like, ugh, burn marks.
Yeah. And that was... One thing that I really liked about the direction of this...
well, real quick, just in case kids don't know, burn marks are when you'd have to... That was an indication where you change over a reel. Watch Fight Club, they'll explain it.
Oh, yes, they will. They actually have a very good description of why that happens in Fight Club. But yeah, with the direction of this, I mean, that was one thing that I actually really enjoyed. I mean, when I first started this, I loved the fact that it comes in with this very, like, old school style... display of the title, and then it comes right in, and it's black and white. Does have a little bit of graininess, not a ton, like you said. I think they could have done a little bit more, but it does have the black and white film. I love the only part until the end of this, obviously, that does have color is the bloodstone itself, which I think is always unique when they do that when people work with black and white, because it shows the significance of this particular item or person, whatever it is that it may be. So you really get the sense of the power of this bloodstone from the get-go. But
and it's cool, and it's cool. It's like the little girl in Schindler's List. Like you especially red against black and white. It just stands out so harshly that you kind of end up you focus on it and. Yeah, it was really cool. Like that's the prize, and it was it was really really cool that they did that in red, and not only just red. Like it was like here's a stone and it's red. It's got
it's glow. Yes, it's like kind of I don't want to say prisming because that's not the right way, but there reflection coming off of it again to kind of show its essence and power.
Correct.
But another thing that I loved with this, the direction that was going in this feature was. Just how nostalgic it felt, like you said, harping back to like the old Universal movies. There wasn't a ton of dialogue in this, which I thought worked really well because it really allowed for kind of the intensity to build up. I really think with something like this, it didn't need a ton of dialogue anyway.
Not really.
But it just worked really well with the cinematography to also give it that tone and that feeling, of those original films that we grew up watching when we were kids.
Even though those films have a lot of dialogue, because it was like the first time they made sound, so it was like let our people talk. But like totally, and it's funny because as we talked before, and like the way films get made better and stuff, like that's how like a lot of those films should be. They should be a lot more quiet and like little bits of dialogue that you don't need a whole thing. I mean, really, like I said in the synopsis, the plot of this is 7 hunters are tasked with going out and hunting a monster. But I forgot to mention, they're also like basically hunting each other. Because they're all trying to win this prize. And so like it's them sneaking around basically a garden. Like
a maze almost.
A topiary or whatever. And trying to find the monster, but also like trying to get the hell away from everyone else. And or in certain cases killing them.
And I thought that was fun with this because all things considered in the MCU, because really at this point we have no actual idea what is considered canon. There's a lot of information that we got with D23 as to what characters were going to be starting to be included in the MCU, making appearances. Obviously Deadpool.
Because we know everything that's currently canon up until now. Well, I just didn't know if this was going to be canon, but it comes right swinging out the gates telling you it's canon.
And so, but what I thought was interesting
also,
with that...
Kevin Feige did come out saying it was canon, and it's going to have an important role going forward.
Oh, I didn't know that it was going to have an important role going forward, so that's news to me. It must have something to do with
the Bloodstone. Well, and that goes into another real quick... I really, really, really thought this was, because it was shot in black and white, was going to take place... kind of in the past, no, it takes place present day.
It's present day.
And
Yeah, obviously you could
that kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, the technology, because I did too, thinking about it when you initially get into it. But once you see the technology, obviously that I guess their kind of minions have,
and it confirms that right out the gate. Yeah, they have like shock. Some cattle prods.
Yeah, cattle prods, yeah.
But yeah, it comes out right out the gate where it talks about the Avengers, but then it says there's a darker side to the universe.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
As we have been in the MCU, slowly introducing the more mystical elements and darker elements. Mm-hmm, we have Blade coming out. We had the Ebony Blade teased in Eternals, and obviously all the stuff in Doctor Strange, and now actually we get our actual first MCU horror thing, because this is horror. I mean, there's some gore. Too.
There's some, and that's what I was trying to get to, was that one thing that I liked about this, because again, now we know that Deadpool is probably going to start coming in and be considered in the MCU rather than being in its own universe. And this was the first time in an MCU, something that we know is actually in the MCU from Disney, Marvel, that we actually got to see some gore, albeit in black and white. But it was the first time they did not shy. They did not pull any punches. And I will argue that not a lot of blood comes out of an ear like that. But yes. But I thought it was fun to see that.
So much fun.
Because that's not something that we've explored before, and it's really fun to see new elements like that introduced into the MCU, especially if you're going to introduce characters like this.
Exactly.
It needs to work that way.
Yeah.
So it was really good to see that that's the direction that they decided to go in, and that's what we actually got to see unfold in this.
Exactly.
So I really enjoyed that.
Even the change scene, which it's done very a la Universal, where it's sort of not shown. It's in
the shadows in the background.
But the way they did that was really cool.
I loved it. I mean.
But yeah, once he starts tearing people up, it's fucking, he's tearing people up.
Yeah, he's tearing people up.
He rips off, he straight up starts beating some dude on the ground. He rips some guy's fucking torso off.
Yeah.
It's fucking visceral.
And then let's also not forget Man-Thing, or Ted, as his name is.
Which is a great nod to the comics, because it's Dr. Ted Sallis.
Yeah, he also, I think I'm assuming he's Irish or Scottish or whatever. One of the first
Scottish?
No, one of the first hunters. He actually
whatever he is
completely melts him.
Because he does the whole thing with if you stare in the eyes of Man-Thing with fear, burn, whatever. I can't remember, but that's his power in the comics. Other than opening portals.
Yeah,
which I assume, and I think they allude to, but I assume that's how he got in this place. How he got in trouble, and why Jack has to come save him again,
because of the portals.
Jack's saying open a portal.
But yeah, this really did pull no punches with that, and so I really liked it, But really the best thing for me in this, I really think, was the production and the cinematography. I mean, it just felt great, and honestly, like coming into the season that we're coming into, October, like this was like the perfect start for it. Like I really just enjoyed this. Like it just had this feel that was so fun and just really got me excited, honestly, for what's to come here for the remainder of the month.
Yeah, we have quite a few things coming up this month, and we will be recording again, so we will have another October video coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Take one guess what it is.
It doesn't have the word ends in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just thought it was fun. I really liked the fight scenes in this. They weren't too over the top.
They were over the top, though.
There were some,
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night was over the top. He was a little bit of like Daredevil in the hallways, Netflix kind of thing going on. But again,
just straight up murky.
Let's just he's a werewolf, so why would he not be? Why would he not have the ability to do so?
I'm glad you brought up the hallway. The funniest thing that I laughed at, though, and this is whatever. Sometimes you just have to have an out. It happens. But he's in a hallway with a door that's sealing, like it's sealing itself. It's like an automatic door, and it's we have to keep him in. Kind of akin to Justice League. You get the door. We got to close all the doors, all the barriers, so we can't get out. But then he goes out a back door that's open. That door seals. He kills all these dudes in this little hallway. But then his getaway is to open the back door, dude. It's fine. Just open it out. You're chill.
No, that's so funny. Actually, now that you think about it, and
it's fine. I just found it funny.
Another thing with this that I did think that was fun in regards to just the overall aspect of it. Obviously, Elsa and Jack formed this pretty quick relationship, but I do like this sense of how he has described that when he turns into the werewolf, that it's not who he is in the present. Like that he has a different understanding of what's going on. He's able to control himself. And I like that when they're in the cage.
Well, I love that he says he has he has a whole system too.
Yes, he has a whole system in place is to how to like curb his, well, I guess like insatiable bloodlust hunger, I guess. And by doing that, he sniffs her, which I thought was just really fun.
It was really cool.
It was enjoyable.
And she's like all weirded out. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why. Okay, so like just a real quick before we kind of get into our monkeys. That's one thing I've always loved about werewolves, because werewolves are always more interesting because in lore, in fiction and stuff, something about werewolves is that like the first thing a werewolf will do when they're turned into a werewolf will kill the thing they love. Yeah. And it's a curse, and like they are immortal. Most fictional depictions, they're immortal, but not immortal. They live a longer life. They're not immortal. In fact, so much like in fiction where vampires and werewolves coexist, where vampires actually, the reason vampires and werewolves hate each other is because vampires are jealous because werewolves can die a lot easier than werewolves or than vampires, because vampires will eventually at a certain point just kill themselves or die of depression and whatever, because fucking living forever probably sucks. That probably sucks. Whereas like a werewolf will live for a few hundred years but still slowly age. Werewolves are always more fascinating, and I think I just like the idea of like changing into an animal, like whereas vampire, like you sleep during the day, you wake up at night, hunt, blah blah blah. Whereas like a werewolf, it's more an animalistic thing, and we all have that animalistic thing inside of us. And I'm always more appealed to werewolves, and I really really like werewolves, especially werewolf movies, even though some aren't all that great because a lot of people just don't like werewolves. I don't know what it is.
Growing up as a kid, like I was always fascinated by werewolves too. When it came to the original movie Monsters, like the werewolf was always my favorite. And growing up, and so I agree with you in that. And I love, as an adult, like one thing I think that you can appreciate about werewolves, which you touched on, is really what it kind of, I think the idea of them is to show the dichotomy of man.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone has this
civilized
side
and then you have your animal side. And when we get to explore werewolves in most lore, that's what we see. That's what we're given. And it's fun to the way that this feature explored that. I really liked it.
Not to mention just, going in like, because I'm a huge fan of creature effects and stuff like that, like designing a werewolf is always like, oh, they either nailed it or vampire. It's always like, okay, what are we going? Are we going Lestat or are we going Nosferatu? Like you're those are your two barometers, and that's kind of like the only angle you have to play from. Yeah. But like with werewolves, you have like things like Ginger Snaps or the werewolf in Cabin from the Woods, or you have like the Wolfman, which or something from The Howling, or like I said earlier, American Werewolf in London. You have kind of a lot to play with, and I'm always kind of interested in seeing. And again, sometimes it sucks because they go dog.
Yes,
they see a dog.
Yeah,
a la Twilight.
Yes,
CGI dogs, just big. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Why? Anyway, sorry. But like that's what I really like. As a creature effects fan, it's always really cool because you can see there's a lot of ways you can go with it. But yeah, on that note, let's get into our monkeys.
Yeah, so I it's been a while since we've given monkeys, so I had to think about it. And the ratio, as I was watching this, I was like, did we do this out of 10? Was it? No, it's 12 monkeys. So what am I going to get out of 12? It took me a while. It really did. As I was watching this, I was thinking about it.
Do we need a new ranking system?
We are not changing the ranking system. It's going to stay. And I'm going to go ahead and give Werewolf by Night a 11 out of 12.
Nice.
It wasn't perfect. You know, I don't know why it worked for me that it was short. But it also didn't work for me that it was short. To be honest, like that was the biggest qualm that I really had with this.
My only one as well.
Because and as I said earlier, there wasn't a ton of need for a lot of dialogue and character development in this. However, I felt like the elements of that were put in this were done very quickly, and so realistically, when we get to the end, and obviously you could tell that they've kind of formed this bond. He escapes, and obviously he more or less, but he cares about her because at the end he obviously asks Man-Thing like, "Hey, was she okay?" And they kind of have their conversation, and they just laugh it off. But again, those kind of things being brought into this happened very quickly, which I really think was the only thing that worked against it for me. Other than that, length. But other than that, I mean, this again was just. I think this is the best introduction coming into the season. I really just loved the nostalgic of it, aspect of it. I loved the feeling of it. The cinematography was just, I mean, this was really fun. And I love that Marvel's trying to explore different things.
Yeah.
Because if this is what's going to come from them, it works. And I'd like to see them keep exploring this avenue because this really worked. And, it kind of makes me excited for what's to come as they continue to dive into this realm.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm going 10 only because I just think like I would have, the runtime, I would have really liked an hour and a half. Like not a 2 hour long movie, like not a long one, but like an hour, 20 minutes. Give me another 20 minutes, give me another 30, maybe 20, 25, 30. And not for nothing, not for any real reason that I think anything was shortchanged or that like there was a story beat that I felt got missed, or there was characterization that I think got missed. Had nothing to do with that. I actually just wanted more. 10 out of 12. I loved Man-Thing. It's actually almost my favorite part because he's great. He's such a non-character in the comics. It's not an I Am Groot situation where you have a plant character and all he says is I'm Man-Thing. No, it's just he's just a very, very interesting character, and he's used a lot in the Marvel Zombies storyline in part of it.
Howling Commandos.
Mm-hmm. They used him in the Dark Avengers. I want to say not the Dark Avengers. They used him in another Avengers series, and it's just kind of a cool character. And seeing him being kind of buddy with Jack, and I love like when him and Jack are sitting outside after Jack turns back.
Yeah,
you kind of like get this. It's a very buddy moment, like where they're just sort of sitting, watching the smoldering fire in the morning. He's drinking coffee, and you kind of get the sense of what Man-Thing is saying to him. So, see, you liked Elsa, huh? You know, like totally just nonchalant buddy conversation, but with a giant swamp creature.
Yeah, and to add to that, I thought a thing that was funny. They're clearly having a conversation about getting something to eat, and how he references the fact that he's not hungry. You could tell because he fed that night, but then he tells him that he owes him sushi, so they're going to go out and get sushi.
Which was the other tell that it takes place in modern day.
Yeah, that's true. But I did think that was just, like you said, kind of just a funny way to wrap up this feature, and it worked really well. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun, and like you said, a great start to the to be the Halloween season. Another real quick thing I wanted to touch on. I love the animatronic.
Oh, yes.
Of Ulysses. I forgot to touch on it earlier.
Yes,
that was like when I first saw the trailer, I was like, that's because it just harkened back to like Tales from the Crypt type days.
It absolutely.
And I kind of almost thought it was going to be like a almost Tales from the Crypt or Creepshow. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Creep show style, like that was going to be the storyteller, quote unquote.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
Again, I didn't think this was going to be MCU. I thought, or like in canon, I thought it was just going to be a one-off special, just for fun for Halloween. I would have been fine with that. That would have been cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now knowing it's in the MCU, it's canon, and Kevin Feige has actually said it's going to have lasting implications going forward. That's really cool. So it means that also means the Bloodstone's obvious a MacGuffin, and it's gonna it's gonna come back up.
Yeah, and I think before we sign off here, I mean, you know, with the introduction of this realm of the MCU, I'm really, really, really hoping that sometime soon we get to see Mephisto, because I just
not the bees.
I feel like that is where we're headed.
It's gotta happen.
And I honestly can't wait, because what comes with Mephisto, we're going to have Ghost Rider, we're going to have Blade, we get to explore all these characters that I really enjoyed as a kid in the comics. So I just hope that this is, you know, setting the stage for that, and that's something that we get to see get to see on screen shortly.
I have a feeling they'll save Mephisto till like we're ready to wrap up the MCU.
You think so?
As like a real end game to the entire MCU, like
really
just finishing it. Maybe that's my theory.
Well, I guess we'll
zero
see.
thought put into it. I might add,
just a straight, candid, just yeah. I mean, well, hey, you know what?
There's end at some point.
There's no better time to do it, to be as candid, than the present right now, because we literally just watched this and filmed it. So, with that being said, everyone, we're going to go ahead and sign off. We hope you enjoyed this video. Again, we're really happy to be back. We're going to be putting out some more content here in the future. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Also, if you haven't already, go over to Instagram and go ahead and give us a follow on the Two Guys from Nowhere. That is our tag there. With that being said, we hope you have a good night. Make sure to keep the candy out for the kids, because trick or treat, you don't want to get tricked. It's better to give treats.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I thought. I knew there were 7.
Okay.
It's always 7.
Do we want to see how it sounds before we get back into this?
No, we already tested it. Okay. We tested enough.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
That might have been lame, but it's no lamer than the Ghostbusters one we did.
What was the Ghostbusters one again?
It was when you did the Two Guys from Nowhere.
I thought that was good. Whatever. Agree to disagree.
and I did the Tombstone when Jeff refused to be a part of this. That's why the last episode I was like, I'm not coming over to help.
Yeah,
I just can't do it.
No, I get it. Well, hopefully things turn around.
Because just nervous breakdowns all over the place.
Yeah. No. Then I just start paying attention to it, and I can't fucking focus.
I think some of those are actual real pictures of like weird disfigured babies and and animals and stuff. But yeah, it's just a dumb like mockumentary about this guy who says he found a hole to like an underground city of like mutant people, but it's just sort of like it's just them talking a lot.
Oh. Somebody wrote a book about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like so do you know who Cage is?
Luke Cage?
No, just Cage the rapper, the musician.
Cage the elephant?
No, just his name is just Cage.
No, I don't.
Just Cage. Okay, anyway.
He's a rapper, so is it like K$JE?
No, it's just Cage, just Cage.
I don't know. It's a I don't know, whatever.
Damn, you have some fucking big bear paws,
yeah,
man.
Dude.
I mean, they don't look like, because I don't think we ever have like our fists sitting next to each other to realize how big your fucking hands are. All right.
I love joking that I'm Wreck-It Ralph.
I mean, yeah.
Big monster claws.
I am Josh by Night, and this is Jeff Thing.
I prefer Man Jeff, but
Man Jeff, okay.
Talk.
This is a test and only a test.
Testing.
Testing.